Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, bombarded with kamikaze drones on Monday, according to Ukrainian officials who repeated their calls for Western allies to supply the country with more advanced air defense systems. Kyiv's security forces fighting back, shooting down 36 of 42 drones that were launched by Russia.
The Russians tried to destroy critical infrastructure of our hometown. Before the winter, they want to switch off the electricity and to make an attack to our power plants, stations.
The drone attacks come after Moscow fired hundreds of missiles at civilians across Ukraine last week.
Putin has had a very bad 3 months. His offensive in Donbass was stopped in mid-July. You've had this great counteroffensive by the Ukrainians. And then you had the blow-up of the Kerch Bridge, which is vital for Russian military supplies for their forces in southern Ukraine.
The Biden administration will now factor in Russia's use of these drones in its future planning as it pertains to helping Ukraine, according to a senior administration official. A pregnant woman among those killed in the strikes as search and rescue operations continue.
I suspect Zelensky has no interest in conceding any land of Ukraine to Russia because of the great Russian war crimes committed against the Ukrainian people, which includes the rape of Ukrainian women, the abduction of Ukrainian children, and massive torture.
In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
4 shot, 3 confirmed fatalities.
A barrage of gunfire erupts in Pittsburgh's North Side neighborhood, leaving 2 women and a man dead. It happened just before 10 last night on a busy street near a Giant Eagle, Sunoco gas station, an Elks Lodge, and across the street from a playground.
The area of the shooting was Cedar and East Ohio Street area. There's this whole entire area, obviously, not just one confined area. We had multiple scenes.
When police got here, they found 33-year-old Jacqueline Mahalik in the Allegheny Commons East Park, where she was pronounced dead. Another woman, 59-year-old Betty Everett, was found at the bus stop and rushed to the hospital, where she later died from her injuries. A man, also found at the bus stop, was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, but later died. A 4th victim, a man, showed up at the hospital on his own in stable condition. 911 calls regarding the shooter suggest the suspects took off shortly after shots rang out.
Direction of flight out of Sunoco?
Yeah, it came out of the Sunoco, made the right on Cedar, pulled up, did the shooting, and fled outbound on Presley towards Nash.
Copy, Black Jeep, last on Presley towards Nash.
At this hour, police don't know if the victims knew each other or what the motive was, only saying the investigation is still very active.
We'll take our time, we'll do it the right way, and that way we won't miss anything.
Well, several prisoners have been confirmed dead and dozens injured after a fire broke out at Iran's notorious Evin prison on Saturday, according to state media. The facility in Tehran has gained infamy for the detention of political prisoners, including human rights activists, lawyers, journalists and professors, as well as foreign nationals. And while CNN is not able to independently verify what caused the fire, some details have emerged from pro-reform organizations. In footage obtained by activist group 1500 Tasvir, gunfire and alarms can be heard in the background as flames engulf the prison complex. Meanwhile, pro-reform news outlet Iran Wire reported on Saturday that a source within the prison said a revolt had taken place in part of the facility and that a fire had subsequently ensued. Now, government authorities on Saturday were quick to assert that the situation had been brought under control, with a security official telling state media that the fire had started after a group of thugs set fire to a clothing warehouse in the complex, adding that the so-called rioters responsible had been separated from other detainees. Of course, while the Iranian regime claims this fire is not connected to the protest movement sweeping the country, it is impossible to ignore the context here. The incident comes at a time when the regime is facing one of its toughest challenges in years, with protests not only gaining momentum, but also morphing into a much broader call for regime change. On Saturday, US President Joe Biden expressed his solidarity with the Iranian people, drawing criticism from Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, who said Sunday that Iran remains unfazed by the intervention of foreign politicians and would not give in to the US government's, quote, cruel sanctions and absurd threats. This, of course, as the regime's brutal and deadly crackdown on protesters, and any sign of dissent for that matter, continues across the country. Nada Bashir, CNN, London.
Espada contra la pared.
¿Qué es más importante, la alimentación o el bolsillo?
Pues es que va de la mano, porque es que uno así quiera pues comprar unos productos que de pronto necesite, pero son muy costosos, entonces no se puede.
Por mucho que algunos quieran quedar con la barriga llena y el corazón contento, la inflación no lo permite.
Pues hartísimo, porque ya la plata no alcanza para nada, de modo que ahora sí adelgazar.
Según el DANE, en un año el precio de los alimentos aumentó 26,62%.
La inflación es el peor cáncer que puede tener una economía. Principalmente afecta a las personas más pobres. La razón es que las personas que tienen menores ingresos son los que más le dedican su presupuesto a la alimentación. Una persona de menores ingresos puede dedicarle el 60 o el 70% de sus ingresos a comer.
La difícil decisión de qué comprar para comer es el pan de cada día.
En el caso de nosotros hemos reemplazado las carnes, ha sido por otra clase de proteínas, por huevos, que es lo que más está a la mano. O por granos, que es lo más asequible que uno tiene. Pero hoy uno nota el costo de la canasta familiar a la hora más que todo de comprar las carnes.
Bueno, entonces, ¿usted cree que usted y su familia están bien alimentados? ¿Qué opina?
Hay momentos donde uno siente que no, precisamente por eso.
Las cifras del DANE también revelan que en un año la yuca subió de precio 121%, la cebolla 105%, la racacha, ñame y otros tubérculos 80%, las frutas frescas 28%, el arroz 33%, los huevos 30%, el tomate 29% y las papas 14%. Entre sumas y restas, unas por otras, para resolver qué mercar.
Por el alza del producto, antes llevaba 2 libras, lleva media libra de carne. O prefieren llevar un chorizo, pernil, pollo, huesito, costilla, lo más barato porque no alcanza.
En Colombia, 19,6 millones de personas sufren de pobreza monetaria, es decir, tienen ingresos por personas de 354.000 pesos mensuales.
Y si bien en el total nacional tenemos una inflación del 11,44%, para estos hogares esa inflación ya alcanza el 13%. Si seguimos de esta manera, es probable que al finalizar 2022 tengamos una inflación para hogares vulnerables muy cercana al 14% o ligeramente superior.
Según las cifras oficiales, ningún alimento bajó de precio durante el último año y los que menos subieron de precio son la panela cruda, los concentrados para preparar refrescos y las bebidas energizantes.
I come here like 3 times a week. And she drives all the way from Ann Arbor to shop here at Meatland Market in Detroit because she says the prices are better. For this mother of 14, any savings right now counts.
You're traveling a little further to a place where you know you can save a couple pennies.
Yes. When it comes to that Thanksgiving turkey, head butcher Eric Nimanes says right now their supply is solid. That's because their buyers are working around the clock. The bird flu, he says, has impacted what's available and for how much.
They scour around and, find the best prices, and they're working all the time to get as much product as we can. Getting birds from different places, out of state even, and bringing them in.
The National Turkey Federation, a group that lobbies on behalf of the turkey industry, told us in a statement there should be ample supply this year.
Now, one thing they're seeing more and more here, people opting for turkey alternatives like corned beef.
Or short ribs. Because of the current supply chain, Eric says non-traditional meats for Thanksgiving could offer unexpected savings, more on par or in some cases even cheaper than turkey.
You don't necessarily have to have that bird on the table. You can have other things and enjoy a great dinner.
The USDA says the return of the avian flu has led to the depopulation of 5.4 million turkeys, about 2.5% of those commercially slaughtered last year. Thankfully, the bird flu didn't impact the more than 4,000 birds here at Rapurdi's turkey farm in Livonia, but inflation sure did.
The corn, the feed, my bags, my boxes, the prices have gone up for me like crazy, so I had to up my price also.
Last year, they charged $3.49 per pound, but this year it's up to $4.49. Another change? Christine Rapurdi says the birds are once again smaller this year. That's on purpose. She got them a week and a half later to meet the demand for smaller birds, something that started during the pandemic and has lasted. Despite higher prices, she plans on selling out again this year. Orders are already rolling in.
What would you say is too late? Like, do you have a hard deadline in your head where you know that you're going to sell out?
That week before Thanksgiving.
La venta de vehículos nuevos a gasolina o diésel en California estará prohibido desde 2035.
Esto significa que a partir de ese año solo podrán comercializarse autos y camiones ligeros nuevos de cero emisiones en todo el estado. Esa fue la decisión que el 25 de agosto tomó la Junta de Recursos del Aire de California. California ha liderado el camino hacia los vehículos de cero emisiones desde hace mucho tiempo. Hace 2 años, el gobernador Newsom anunció que para 2035 todos los autos nuevos que se vendan tendrían que ser de cero emisiones, y lo que estos nuevos estándares hacen es básicamente marcar el camino para llegar allí. Es un camino gradual para el cual se establecieron cuotas provisionales para la venta de autos de cero emisiones. Es decir, para 2026, el 35% de todos los nuevos automóviles que se vendan en el estado deberán ser de cero emisiones, una cuota que aumentará a 51% en 2028, a 68% en 2030, hasta llegar al 100% en 2035. Es una transición para la cual ya se están preparando las empresas automotrices en California, según la vicegobernadora Konalakis. También hemos visto que el sector privado y las compañías automotrices se preparan para este nuevo mercado en California, que es el más grande en el país. Eliseo Orellano, gerente general de este concesionario de autos nuevos en el área de Palm Springs, California, al este de Los Ángeles, dice estar de acuerdo y nos habla del cambio de inventario que harán próximamente.
Háblame entonces de la transición que está haciendo tu concesionario para traer vehículos de cero emisión.
Mira, por ejemplo, los Chargers y Challengers para 2023, va a ser el último año que los van a hacer en gas, en combustible. Empezando en 2024, todos van a ser completamente eléctricos.
La popularidad que están adquiriendo los vehículos eléctricos en California ha sido evidente, afirma el gobernador Newsom. El año pasado tuvimos 16% en venta de autos nuevos, 16% en vehículos eléctricos. El gobernador Newsom ha dicho que este nuevo plan, además de ayudar a combatir el cambio climático, reduciendo los niveles de contaminación ambiental, también pondrá a California al frente de una nueva industria global. No se trata de poder eléctrico, se trata de poder económico, se trata de dominar la próxima gran industria global. Se trata de una industria de casi $1 billón, de una oportunidad. No vamos a ver eso en otras jurisdicciones, en otras partes de este país o del mundo. Queremos dominar esto. Esta medida marca un giro histórico en la lucha de años para frenar la contaminación que generan los vehículos de combustible en California. Pero Ricardo Rodríguez Long, experto en la industria automotriz y transporte, la ve como una acción precipitada. Dice que en los próximos 13 años, California no alcanzará a crear la infraestructura idónea para que arranque este megaplan. Esto, a pesar de que el gobernador Newsom ha dicho que el estado invertirá $10,000 millones para acelerar la transición y para que al californiano le sea más fácil y barato comprar un vehículo libre de emisiones.
Yo aplaudo todos estos incentivos que el estado de California propone, aunque no sé si todavía estamos listos para esta transformación total de lo que es el transporte colectivo. Todavía no tenemos muy claro cómo es la infraestructura.
Por su parte, Arellano dice que le preocupa que a los latinos, la mitad de la clientela que entra a su negocio a comprar un automóvil nuevo, es en ocasiones la menos informada sobre esta nueva medida, en comparación con otros clientes.
¿Tú crees que a la comunidad latina le va a costar un poco más de trabajo adaptarse a este nuevo cambio?
Basado a lo que miramos aquí en el concesionario, sí. Sí, porque estamos muy impuestos a la gasolina.
Hasta el momento no se sabe con exactitud cuántos otros estados en el país replicarán este plan. Funcionarios de Nueva York, Oregon, el estado de Washington y Rhode Island le dijeron a CNN que también lo adoptarán a través de su propio proceso, mientras que funcionarios de Nueva Jersey y Maryland dijeron que lo estaban analizando.
Si no hacemos un acuerdo entre todos los gobiernos, entre todas las naciones del mundo, por más que hagamos énfasis en este estado, realmente los resultados no creo que tengan impacto tan grande como se habla hoy en día.
Esta nueva medida no impactará a los vehículos usados que se vendan en California, que podrán seguir circulando.
I could see the plume of smoke just up to the right, like up on the horizon there, filling up the whole area, against the blue sky. That was pretty that was a little jarring.
Fire officials say it was due to the severe weather the past 2 days. High winds dominantly that increased the fire's size and led to thousands of additional evacuations. A recipe for a heartbreaking Sunday afternoon.
I was out visiting friends watching a football game, and I got a call from my lady, and she told me, come home, come home.
Residents felt the fire was tucked away in the wilderness, and although you're seeing mostly trees, homes do linger nearby.
It's surprising when you drive around here in the south and the east, the number of houses are hidden in the woods.
Houses are being threatened, but much of the evacuation zone is precautionary.
It's better to be cautious than to have to go through ruins and dig out bodies.
Here at the Camas Church, the American Red Cross is providing things like water and snacks to residents who have been evacuated. Also, breakfast and dinner, and is prepared for about 100 individuals to possibly stay the night downstairs.
It's a whole lot of doubt and it's a lot of stress.
Though doubt and fear of losing their homes to the fire can't be helped,
I just hope everyone gets out safe.
optimism in fire crews prevails.
Good Lord willing and nature provide and cooperate, they'll get the fire out.
I agree with him. I think we'll be home in a couple days.
Everybody can go home and continue their lives.
Queremos extenderles una gran invitación a todos nuestros televidentes de Telaruba para que sigan bien conectados con Primera Plana con Alejandra Forero, que transmitimos de lunes a viernes en nuestros 3 diferentes horarios. A las 6:30 nuestra premier, tendremos nuestra repetición a las 7:30 de la mañana y a la 1 de la tarde con las mejores noticias locales, internacionales, todos los sucesos que les dan la vuelta al mundo, noticias de virales, noticias de farándula y muchísimo más. Así que todos los días tenemos una cita aquí en Primera Plana con Alejandra Forero.
Nos mainta turja luna jaranson y javierna de nuevo para su norte mainta. Repetición a tarde y su siguiente día. Riba live streaming. Nos mainta ta entretener, educar y informar. Nos mainta aquí na mes na Telearuba.
Telearuba junto Cubo. Just download the app.
At Maimonides Park, today's baseball game was all about peace. Ukraine's blue and yellow flag floating in the stands as Team Ukraine took the field for a charity game against New York's bravest.
It's definitely a tough time in the world right now, and hopefully peace can come soon.
For the players, it's much more than just a game.
That's what we can do right now to bring the main win to our nation. That means survival for our nation. So that's a lot.
During today's game, they're also raising funds to help rebuild fields and sport complexes in Ukraine.
We raised $13,500. This is a great cause. You know, maybe it'll help bring some normalcy back to the kids of Ukraine once this is finally over.
Thank you for Americans, for all the world for support. That's mean a lot for us.
But with the war in its 8th month, they are here to remind the world that the battle isn't over.
Guys in teams that have parents on the front line, they have families, some member of families under occupation, so we want to win it, we're gonna win it, but we don't want to lose our people.
And to appreciate what truly matters.
Maybe having this war will show the world that peace is something precious. Peace is something that you cannot take for granted.
From Little League all the way to the major leagues, baseball is a passion that's hooked fans for decades. On a sunny Saturday morning, the Long Island Bombers are gearing up for a competitive game of America's pastime. 1, 2, This is a special team of volunteers who range in age from their 20s all the way up to their 60s.
It's, beyond a team and friends, it's a family.
James Hughes has been on this team since the 90s. He says there's nothing like that moment when you get up to bat and you're waiting for the ball. He sets up on the plate and waits. But when the pitcher throws the ball, all he sees is this: darkness. That's because James lost his sight when he was 3 years old. Besides the pitcher, all of the players on this team are legally blind.
That's the beauty of a team such as this, to give those people that hope and that feeling of normalcy.
It's called beep baseball. The ball and bases all beep, so the players rely on their sense of hearing to navigate the field.
You hit the ball, you hear the buzzer, and you're not even thinking, you just go.
Ted Fass is one of the co-founders. At 11 years old, he had a tumor growing in his nasal pharynx, which severed his optic nerve. He's been blind ever since.
I never thought I'd play baseball again. And that was a big thing because my life was sports.
This team gives him and the other Bombers that hope.
It is the most incredible thing that a baseball team can make such a big difference in their lives.
There are some slight modifications to the game. There's only a first and third base. Each one has a different toned beep. The batter doesn't know which base to run to until after they hit and hear which base beeps. Then they run towards the sound. If they're safe before the other team gets the ball, that team scores a run. And the outfield doesn't have designated positions. Each outfielder is assigned a number. There's a sighted person who stands in the field and yells out the number based on where the ball is going. That way the players know if the ball is coming to their section. And the pitcher is sighted. For this team, that's high school senior Ethan Schulman.
These players have really taught me that while it's great to have a passion, it's more important to share it with people that you love.
A few hours on a Saturday that leaves a lasting difference in all of their lives. Even a little sweeter when they win. In Long Island, I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Con una gran fiesta, finalmente nuestro país despidió a los Juegos Odesur Asunción 2022. Uno de los momentos más emotivos de la noche fue protagonizado por Tirica. En representación de todos los paraguayos, la mascota de los Juegos recibió una medalla de oro por habernos regalado tanta alegría con su destreza y talento. Los atletas desfilaron por última vez y los voluntarios, considerados el corazón de los Juegos, también fueron homenajeados.
Le pedí que en representación de ustedes de rojo vengan dos personas a quienes yo le pueda poner la medalla de oro. Y ellos están acá, si por favor pueden pasar. En representación de todos los voluntarios, muchas gracias a ellos. Felicitaciones, voluntarios.
Yo vine de Argentina justamente para hacer esto y me siento muy honrado con vuestro pueblo porque me ha dado la posibilidad de representarlos a través de Latinoamérica.
Todos los días, Paraguay es muy lindo. Ayer lo fui a conocer los lagos de Ipacaraí. Lindo, lindo. Obrigado, Paraguay, obrigado.
Estoy muy feliz, es una experiencia única y estoy muy orgullosa de los atletas y de todos los países porque estuve en gran parte de los deportes y estoy muy emocionada.
Los atletas fueron fenomenales y pues nada, estoy muy feliz.
Espectacular, me encantó. Es una fiesta realmente para los paraguayos que esto se celebra aquí.
Espectacular, algo que teníamos que aprovechar realmente, no se ve todos los días esto en nuestro país.
La llama suramericana fue apagada, pero el recuerdo de estos 15 días permanecerán por siempre en los corazones de todos los paraguayos.
Esta impresionante catarata es una de las joyas de la naturaleza que se encuentra en el boquerón del Padre Abad. Se llama el Velo de la Novia y vamos a visitarla en un recorrido lleno de aventura y diversión en la zona norte de Ucayali. Nuestro viaje empieza en la ciudad de Aguaitía, ubicada en la provincia del Padre Abad, departamento de Ucayali. Tras un breve recorrido de media hora en el que viajamos al lado del río, llegamos hasta la cascada El Velo de la Novia. Caminamos unos minutos hasta cruzar un puente. En el ingreso encontramos a jóvenes que rescatan su cultura, danzando su música tradicional y vistiendo trajes típicos.
Bienvenidos al Velo de la Novia.
Así llegamos hasta la cascada del Velo de la Novia, el principal atractivo turístico de Aguaitía y que está abierto al público todos los días. La diversión en este parque ecológico está asegurada. Podrá colocarse debajo de la caída de agua y tomarse divertidas fotos. También podrá bañarse con las lagunas que se crean en la base de la catarata.
Estamos en los toboganes. Ya, es un recurso turístico de acá del distrito de Boquerón, provincia de Padre Abad, a 20 minutos de la ciudad de Aguaitía. No solo este recurso, también tenemos más adelante, acá unos 10 minutos, la muralla del amor.
En todo momento, mientras se divierte, este espectacular escenario lo acompaña, rodeado de vegetación e inmensas formaciones rocosas, un colorido panorama de nuestra selva. A su manera, estos divertidos visitantes nos hacen la invitación al Velo de la Novia. Antes de retirarse, no olvide pasar por la sección de artesanías que se encuentra en el ingreso al Velo de la Novia. Podrá llevarse hermosos recuerdos y de finos acabados. El circuito turístico El Boquerón del Padre Abad lo espera en la región de Ucayali. Recuerde llevar la ropa adecuada para darse un chapuzón en este parque ecológico que es la catarata del Velo de la Novia. Un paseo diferente y rodeado de naturaleza en nuestra selva central.
Watch the moment an airborne whale freaks out a father-son fishing duo. Oh, Zach Piller and his dad were fishing off the New Jersey shore near Belmar when the humpback whale suddenly crested and collided with their boat on touchdown. I don't know what's more entertaining, the whale of a tale viral video moment, what the f***, or the pair's loud and colorful reaction, which is likely still hanging somewhere over the Atlantic. High above West Virginia, a massive crowd of spectators watched daredevils take flight, but only until gravity took over. Base jumpers ranging in age from 19 all the way up to 83 took turns taking the 876-foot plunge at Bridge Day over New River Gorge, America's newest national park. Not only is Bridge Day the largest one-day event in West Virginia, it's the only day of the year this activity is legal in the park. This year also marked the fan-favorite event's return to the Mountain State after a 2-year pandemic-prompted hiatus. Finally, speaking of impressive feats, a New Zealand zoo's ring-tailed lemur population has more than doubled thanks to one very busy dad. 4 females each gave birth to twins after an encounter with Zeus as part of New Wellington Zoo's breeding program. When asked about Zeus's prolific parentage, zoo officials didn't mince words, saying he, quote, got around very well. You can say that again. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.